Okay. A new episode of Cyscene. It's very exciting to have Stelana Kliris with me. Thank you for accepting my invitation.
Very happy to be here.
It's pretty exciting. You know,
Yes.
the first Cypriot film on Netflix is yours. It used to be called The Islander. Now it's called Find Me Falling.
That's right.
Right? So tell me about it.
Sure. Oh, where do I start? This is it's a lovely, charming romantic comedy that I started writing in 2015, I think, or 24, maybe even 10 years ago, and it's been building up over the years alongside other projects. And it's something that was supported from the beginning by the Cyprus Deputy Ministry of Culture. And later down the line, we got the Film Commission involved. We made use of the new cash rebate that Cyprus has to offer. So we're so happy that it's this homegrown project that came out of our island. And it's something we made together. It was a Cyprus USA co-production. I'll just do some of the names now and get that out of the way. We had Jupiter Peak Productions. I had two amazing US producers, Keith Arnold and Steven Shapiro, who helped me put this all together. And we managed to attach our star, Harry Connick Jr., who is a multiple Grammy and Emmy award-winning actor and singer. He's mostly known, he's mostly known as a singer. He's one of the biggest jazz recording artists in the world,
and also arranger and composer.
Yes.
For big bands.
So talented and the loveliest guy. We can chat about him later. And but the majority of the rest of the cast and crew were from Cyprus, and we shot this beautiful little film 2 years ago in 2022, and very recently it sold to Netflix world rights, which was a small miracle, and it's coming out on the 19th of July worldwide. It's being translated into over 30 languages.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
it's my mind can't contain it. And it'll be coming out in Cyprus in cinemas. So it'll be the only place in the world where you can see it on the big screen on the same day.
On the same day.
Same day, day and date, 19th of July. So we're very excited
You've been so busy. It takes so many years to actually, from the inception to the actual, film, showing of the film.
Yes.
But I guess that's part of the work and it's part of the journey. It's not like, oh my God, I can't wait until it comes out to get rid of. Because from what I understand, you work every day, almost still on this film, right?
Yeah. You have to make sure you really love what you're doing, or that you love your story, because you're going to be with it for years.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're doing a lot of other things at the same time. I produced and shot and wrote other things, but because I also have multiple roles in this, I wrote it, so that took a few years, and then I was director and producer on it. So it takes a long time to find the financing and develop it and cast it and set it all up. We also had the pandemic that came in the way. I originally thought that we would shoot this in 2020, and we ended up shooting 2 years later.
22,
yeah. So that also delayed the process, but everything worked out as it should. And there were other projects running as well. But now that we've delivered it to Netflix, it's a big process, to deliver the film. And they're also working now on the publicity and promoting it. So
in a way, it's just starting again.
Yes. I can't wait to deliver it and then just enjoy the promotional part and just let it go out into the world and just share it with people.
But I understand that from the things you're saying, and obviously the end result, which is Netflix, you have aimed high. You weren't like, you went and found these American producers, and then you tried for Netflix and you got Harry Connick. Yeah. It's not like, we just got this actor. It's like, how did that come about? How did you get into the mindset of aiming so high?
So I tend to write more audience-friendly films, if you want to call it. I like doing feel-good films, which are not necessarily aimed at, festivals and so on. They're aimed to go to a wide audience. But to do that, and obviously I speak a lot to other people. I have a lot of really great mentors and colleagues that work in the industry. Nowadays, the way the film world works, you either need to have really good IP, so it needs to be based on a best-selling novel or a game or something. Intellectual property, so or like a franchise. So whatever, your Marvel movies or something that's based on a book or, Game of Thrones, things like that. or you need to have really great cast attached. Otherwise, it's really hard for a film to be distributed widely, to
Right.
get out to the world. So I knew I had to get a really great actor for this role, and it was written in a way that it should be able to attract someone amazing. But obviously, I know how to set up a production and produce, but I didn't have that set of skills, for casting someone like that, and through many, many routes, I was connected by Charlie Parlapanidis. He's this amazing Greek-American writer. He does The Blood of Zeus on Netflix together with his brother Vlas. And he's a good friend. And he connected me with Keith Arnold, who then had, Keith Arnold used to work for Pierce Brosnan's company. So he had a really good network and he knew how to put this together. And then he brought on Steve Shapiro. So the project built from there. And then how we got to Harry was really, we had two really good casting directors from the US. You send out the script and a really nice personal letter. And in the letter, I had to somehow convince someone like Harry to come to this tiny island that most people have never even heard of.
You have to do that.
That goes in the letter. You write a very personal letter from the director to the actor, telling them why you would love them for this part. And I explained, I said, it's small, but it's a really intimate environment where we just focus on the story and shooting the film.
You're trying to sell it, basically.
But also being very honest. I
yeah.
think that I'm biased, but I love working in Cyprus. I think we have the most amazing crew. We really are like family, even though that sounds like a cliche. And I've heard it from every single foreign person who's come to shoot in Cyprus. They always comment on what a good time they have. Harry included. He said it was one of the best productions he'd ever been on.
Didn't he say it was the best?
I'm trying to be diplomatic, but yes, at one point he said the best, because there's just a very welcoming atmosphere. Everybody is doing it because they love it, because they care about the project, which you don't find, in many places. So, and he said he remembered my letter and he said everything you wrote was true. So I guess the letter spoke to him, he loved the script and he came on board. I know that there was some resistance. I know his agents were like, where is Cyprus? And Harry told me, he said, you might as well have shot this on the moon. They were like, where are you going? Where are you going to go shoot? But
he convinced them, or
well, it's his choice. It's his choice. And he came on board. So, and we're so happy because without him, we really couldn't have made this film the way we did.
But all these connections you mentioned from one company to the other agent to the other producer, was all just to get to, let's say, Harry's email or something, or phone
not
number?
to his email, to cast the right person, because I've got to say that again, I was very new to this, and our casting directors had suggested him. They were like, you need somebody who can act but who can also sing, and they sort of gave us a list of people, and we were like, oh my God, Harry Connick Jr. would be amazing for this. So you need to, a film is a
through
team
brainstorming,
effort.
basically.
You need to have like all the right people, and it's their job to do those things. So yeah.
But I want to say something about what you said about the crew. I think also I would like to give you some credit, because I was also in this production for a bit.
Yes, you'll all see a very nice close-up of Lefteris in the film.
Amazing. So I saw, and also a lot of the people that work in the film are my friends, but from what I heard, it was also you being so organized and being so on it and professional and kind with everyone. And obviously I saw that myself as well, but this is what the people who were working with you, everyone said this. So I just want to make a point here, basically, that a good production, it always starts with one person, right? It always starts with what you said as let's say the vibe of the work, and then everyone goes top down to whatever is going to happen on the set has also something to do with you, right?
Yeah.
And also how organized you were with your scenes and stuff.
Yeah.
But it really worked. And
Yeah.
I was recently talking to some crew members, and I was saying, man, that production was so good because Stelana was so organized.
Oh, thank you. That's so good to hear.
Yeah, and
Thank
it goes such a long way, doesn't it? When you
does.
have done good work, and you see that it pays off, obviously, with the big success with the Netflix,
Goosebumps,
but also with the what ripples out from your work, and then I don't know what you're planning next and
Yeah, I'll
how.
feel. No, but thank you very much for that. It's it's something I was preparing for a long time. I am very OCD type A, but I think you have so little time on set that you want to allow for magic to happen. So you need to be organized so that, you want to have a good, environment, and people work really hard and really long hours. So, and because I wasn't always a director. I worked my way up in the crew. I've been a production assistant. I've been a second AD, a first AD. So I know what it's like to be on set, and it can be really difficult if the conditions are bad. So
you've been in those
it's
roles.
it's very important to me that everyone's treated well, and I also hire good people, kalapedia, I want, I don't want any bad behavior on set. I want people who are there because they want to be there. So I think all of that is a combination.
That's what I mean. It starts with the one person.
And setting it up the way. And again, I had beautiful people around me, and yes, that's what I want. You're there for many hours. You want to have a good experience while you're there. It's hard enough as it is. Yeah.
It's amazing to think of everyone, isn't it? I mean, obviously you're not thinking of everyone while you're directing, but you made the circumstance for everyone that's going to come to the set to have a good time, in the sense of they're not going to be like, they're going to be treated well, they're going to have food, they're going to have somewhere to sit.
No, of course.
Stuff
and it's
like
a
that.
machine. It's a machine. If one, you're only as strong as your weakest link. So if somebody's not able to do their job well, or if somebody's unhappy, it
will
affects
hurt the
all of
film.
us.
Yeah.
So you really have to make sure everyone's happy.
So tell me, how did you start? Like, how was things like 10, 15 years ago when, I don't know when you started, but it was probably something like that.
Yeah, it was 10 years ago. I mean, this was, I've mentioned this. I had read a newspaper article about a man in Australia who used to live in a suicide hotspot in Sydney, but he was this very kind old man who saved hundreds of lives by, anytime somebody would come near the edge, he would invite them into his house for tea and, talk to them. And it was a really lovely story. And I just thought, wouldn't it be interesting if it was somebody who was really cranky and awful and didn't want to be around people? What would that look like? And then it developed into this character of John Ormond, who was a sort of rock star who was coming towards the end of his career and wasn't really happy with his life. And of course, being me, it had to become a romantic comedy because I like the element of love and family. And it developed slowly like that. And I've been through many things. I mean, the script went through the MFI, the Mediterranean Film Institute workshop in 2017. It went through IAVE, which is a producing workshop, and all of this stuff, again, supported by our ministry here. So it really has been a process, like a very long.
It was a learning process. It sounds like
very much. No, I've learned so much from this whole experience.
It's almost like university.
Yeah. And in between, I mean, it's been going on for so long. In between all this, I got married. I had a child. I mean, I think I was pregnant when we started auditions. I now have a 4-year-old. So it's been very intertwined with life.
Yeah, but what about before that? Like, I'm sure you've done something before, and you also worked on productions and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, my background, I always wanted to work in film. It's just, it's very hard to get into. And I actually started out in Greece. I mean, I was born and raised in South Africa. I studied there, I graduated, and then I went straight to London. My best friend was there and I wanted to travel. And I thought I would get my foot in the film industry there, which was near to impossible 20 years ago when I was there. So I ended up applying for work in Greece, and I went there. And again, I just worked my way up. I started out as an editor for a commercials company, and then eventually started working as a production coordinator for Green Olive Films, who was also the company that ran the production here in Cyprus. So it was a little bit of a full circle moment.
While you were in London?
No. I moved to Athens. I was in Athens for 7 years, and I worked. So my background is in production, which is where the organization and the coordination comes from. So it was a really good foundation to build, to know how to budget and how to do logistics, and that was my bread and butter job. And in the meantime, my whole family had slowly moved over from South Africa to Cyprus. And they'd been pressuring.
Originally from Cyprus?
Yes. My parents are from, my mom's originally from Louvana, but then Rizokárpasso, and my dad's from Rizokárpasso. And they all moved over slowly, and they were pressuring me to move to Cyprus. And I was like, what am I going to do in Cyprus? There's no film industry. And then little did I know, I found out about the amazing funding programs and the support they had. I also started shooting some things in Cyprus through Green Olive Films, and I got to know the crew that I love so much. So we've been together for more than 20 years, like as little kids, and we've grown up together. And and eventually I moved over in 2010, and then I started working as a freelancer on different features and shorts in Cyprus, and then started producing my own short films. I did 2 like fictional shorts, and then did my very first feature 10 years ago in 2014 called Committed, and that was when the crisis had hit Cyprus. So again, there wasn't really any funding available. So we did a crowdfunding campaign, and we found an investor, and we did something on a teeny tiny budget. Again, kind of a feel-good rom-com that was called Committed, and we shot it in English.
In Cyprus.
All across Cyprus, a nice road trip movie in Cyprus with 2 characters, this guy and this runaway bride, Milia Kryling and Orestes Sophocleos, who later became my brother-in-law, but that's another story. So
I remember, because when I was looking through my emails, when we started emailing each other about this film, I saw that you emailed me back then about that film,
Yes.
about some music.
Hustling.
I don't remember what.
I remember that. Yeah. I was looking for stuff for the soundtrack. I was looking for songs or for music I think when we were in post.
And I don't think I ever gave you any. I'm really sorry
I got
about
to you
that.
eventually. No, that's
Oh
all
my
right.
God, yes, I found that. But it's a great story. It's really, to me, it's really inspiring because, you see, obviously, we know the scene here and we know the people and we heard most of the stories. But then when you hear a story of someone who came from the big countries back to Cyprus and then built something here that is not small, it's like step by step went to do a big production. To me, that's a really inspiring story because we're more used to hearing about, oh my God, it's so hard. Cyprus is so small. The industry doesn't exist. We all know this. It's like it's the usual that we hear. But then to hear a story and then to see this flourish, after 10 years or whatever, into this big thing that's kind of not only a success for you, but also putting Cyprus on the map of film.
I hope so.
It's just amazing and very inspiring, and I hope it's going to inspire a lot of. It doesn't matter what it is, if it's a romantic comedy or if it's an action film. It's just the work what moves me is the work and dedication that's put in, and the hours and the years that's put in this project, and the persistence to bring this to life.
Yeah.
So
Thanks. No, and it's been in parallel. Like, I haven't been alone in this. Our industry has been growing especially over the last 10 years. But again, we do have really good support from the ministry. Finally, we have these financial incentives from, Invest Cyprus. So that's bringing in more productions from abroad, which means we get more experience, we get known, more money comes into the industry. So it's happening. It's really, really slowly, but it's happening. And I think we also started to have a really good presence at festivals. My very good friend Mario Piperidis' feature, Smuggling Hendrix, won in Tribeca a few years ago. There've been a lot of really good successes. And then I think the one place we haven't really tapped into is kind of the more commercial films, which is definitely my area, because I'm not an art house or festival or film kind of girl.
Yeah.
So that was the goal for me, and my philosophy is sort of to just really love the process. Like, obviously I have an end goal, to something like, I want to get into Netflix, or I want to, but you never know if you're going to get to that point or not. So as long as you really love what you're doing in the meantime, and you're gaining from it and you're contributing from it, then that's something that can keep you going, because it's a big gamble. We could have made this film and it might not have gone anywhere, and
you didn't know when you were making it.
No, we had no idea. It was the aim, and we said, we knew that because it was a romantic comedy, ideally and most likely it would go to a streamer. But I mean, it's huge competition, and last year was a very difficult year for the market in Hollywood. There were the writer strikes and the actor strikes, and all these sales agents kept telling us, no one's buying now, you won't be able to sell the film. And we really thought, we were like, oh, okay, well, that was it. That was all for nothing. And it turned out not to be true.
It almost got to that point where you felt like we're not going to sell it anywhere.
We hadn't actually gone into the market yet, but just from conversations we were having and all the feedback we were getting was doom and gloom. Oh, the market is so bad, and the second we finally signed with our sales agent and they screened the film to distributors, it sold almost immediately,
Amazing.
So, and best case scenario. So phew, as Keith says, nobody knows anything. So,
I don't know. It just feels like you are a very positive person. So I don't know. Just sometimes it helps, doesn't it?
no, definitely.
Because
Positive, a
obviously
little
you didn't
crazy.
give in to the doom and gloom of the industry or
No,
those
no.
things you were talking
I
about.
got, yeah, I don't know. I did get a little depressed at one point. I was like, what am I doing? What is, what was I doing all of this for? But yeah, definitely this has helped and I'm back on track again.
Great. You mentioned a lot of the Cypriot films that are happening. Obviously, it's moved on so much. There's more and more happening. I would like to ask you, what do you think, not necessarily about the films, but the writing? Because I see a lot of, this is a genuine question I have. I see a lot of directors writing their own scripts. And I don't know how I feel about that. Sometimes I feel, the scripts are a bit weak, or maybe they haven't been worked on a lot.
Yeah.
Obviously, you were saying that you worked in workshops, and then
Yeah.
you went through all this process to perfect your script. But I feel that, and this is my personal
Yeah.
opinion, I feel like we kind of lack on the screenplay department.
It definitely could be stronger. I mean, I agree. You can definitely be a writer, director. I do think not every director is a writer, not every writer is a director. But we definitely work. I mean, and that's the foundation of all films, right? I do think we need more work for our screenplays and for our stories, because the stronger that is, the stronger the film. I don't know if it's because, like I said, the majority of the films are art house, so maybe people feel that they can get away with more.
Vagueness.
Exactly. My personal opinion is, doesn't matter whether it's commercial or art house, it needs to have a solid narrative.
Yeah.
You can play around with it, you can break the rules, but there needs to be a story there. The audience needs to know, why are they watching this? Why do I care?
Yeah.
What are you trying to say with your film?
And a clear message. I
Yes.
think that's what is lacking.
Exactly.
more.
What are you trying to say with your film? And the greatest art house films all have very solid, beautiful narratives. They're not, like you said, super vague or just, I'm not going to explain it. I'm the auteur. It's there needs to be a story there. There's a reason.
Foundation.
Yeah. So
Maybe we need to separate, for example, screenwriter and director, maybe, or we don't have enough
that's the thing.
writers.
Yeah. I don't think that's necessarily the solution. I mean, I'm a writer, director as well.
I know.
And I think the reason that happens also is that in order to direct, you need to have something to direct. So if there aren't enough writers, or if there isn't a good script out there for you to direct, you're going to write it yourself. And maybe that's where it comes from. I don't know. It's a debate we could have. Certainly, I know when you get, for example, funding for script writing from the Deputy Ministry of Culture, one of the conditions is that you either attend a recognized workshop or you work with a script consultant. So there is an effort to shape these scripts as best as possible. But okay, it's still a work in progress. We're a small place. We have a small, pool of talent.
So there's a separate funding. Sorry, I don't know
Yeah,
about this. There's
yeah.
a separate funding for screenwriters.
Yeah.
And then a separate funding for making
For
the film.
for development, for production. Yeah. So there's because in order for a film to exist, there needs to be a screenplay. So you have a year as a writer to sit and deliver a script, and you're supported by this fund.
That's amazing. I mean, as a musician, it kind of makes me feel a bit, it feels a bit unfair because
there
it's
isn't
like
something like that for
it's
music?
it's like somebody giving me money to develop my song.
Yes.
No.
Yeah, no,
it doesn't
exactly. Yeah, I
happen.
know. You
But
got to get on
it's-
them.
It's
Yeah.
amazing though. Like
No, of
there's
course.
this fun, and now that you're saying this, it's like, well, I want to see better scripts because obviously there's some
Yeah.
people are getting funded to develop these scripts.
Yeah,
and,
yeah. Well, yeah, there are newer people coming onto the scene now. There's new young talent. So, and I optimistically hope it's going to get better and better, and there's more access to these programs and these workshops. So, hopefully that'll improve.
I'm very optimistic for the new generation, as well as in music, but also, I mean, you're saying it now, and also I saw a lot of young people in your set that I've seen since, like, working in the industry,
Yeah.
which is great. But also, again, I'm going to go back to what I said in the beginning, like something like this happening gives us all a lot of hope, because
Yes.
basically it's the same like when I was growing up, there wasn't many bands around. There was almost no bands around. So if there was a band to see, then maybe it would get me a bit more. It would
Yeah.
get me my dream, let's say, closer to reality.
Yeah. That you can do it as well.
If I could touch this person, for example, because they
Exactly.
were there, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
There wasn't anything like that. It was just television and radio.
So
That was
you
it.
did it.
Yeah, but then and then when I come back, let's say I moved away, I came back, and then younger people are like, "Oh, when I saw your band doing that, I thought, oh, maybe I can do that as well." But if you
Amazing.
don't see it, so that's what I'm saying. If a young person sees, Stelana Kliris did this film and it got on Netflix, obviously, you need to know how she did it as well. But at least just the thought of it,
Yeah.
that this person exists in my vicinity,
Yes.
and she's done it.
No, it's a huge deal.
It's so inspiring.
I'm so glad. This is what this is for. I hope this is a really big step towards it. It's a proof of concept in every single way for us here to show that we are perfectly capable of producing world-class films that can go out to an international audience, and for people abroad, because I'm hoping it will put Cyprus a little bit on the map. I hope it will bring more productions here. And now whenever you mention the name Cyprus, you can say, yeah, we had this movie, Find Me Falling, on Netflix worldwide. So the quality is
There's
there.
a reference.
Yeah, and again, it was homegrown. The majority of our cast and crew was from here. Our post-production was here. Our sound mix was in Greece.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was...
done from a Cypriot.
with Christos Kyriakoulis and Kostas
Yeah,
Baribogiotis.
so
Yeah. But I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I guess coming from a small place, sometimes you might feel lesser than, and there's no reason for that at all. If anything, we can actually move a lot faster in Cyprus because it's easier to meet people and to get things
Yes.
done, which was the
Do
sense
more
that I
things in a
got when I
day,
moved
yeah.
here. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I would have been able to move as fast in another country. And yeah, it's a great proof of concept. We can do anything that can be done abroad, and I hope that many more will follow. This should not be a one-hit wonder.
I love it. I mean, I love it because you basically saying all the positive things that you can find in Cyprus.
Yes.
Like you're naming all the, obviously doing things. This is when I came back, is the first thing I noticed is like, okay, in London I could do maybe 2 things a day. Here I can do 10. Okay, it can be a trap sometimes.
Yeah.
But if I want to, I can do 10 things because it's closer in the distance. But yeah, you're naming all these positive things, which is great. And I don't know, I'm sensing like, I want to ask you, as a Cypriot, how do you feel this kind of weight of, losing half of the country and the war and all these things? Because I think, I don't know, a lot of us, we're carrying this unconscious burden of, the underdog and the oppression and all those things. And I kind of get the feeling that because you didn't grow up here, you kind of, thankfully, you didn't kind of put
you
that
think?
weight on your shoulders, and it kind of feels like you came with a fresh energy to Cyprus.
Yeah.
Which maybe was for you just to, okay, let's explore this place.
Yeah.
What's going on here?
Well, so that's a very interesting point. My mom was a refugee from the war. My dad he left before, he was an immigrant. But I definitely grew up with that narrative and with that sense at home. And I think to an extent, like my husband always makes fun of me because I ration things at home as if it's like war. It's like, we're not in wartime, but I grew up, my parents always like, you don't know if we're going to have enough for tomorrow.
In South Africa.
Yeah, because they were very affected by
So
that.
they totally had that mindset.
So, yeah. So, but, and also, I think for me, again, that's fuel for motivation. And I do often feel underestimated. Like, and I don't know if it's because definitely not anymore, but even in the beginning, I was often one of the very few, if not the only woman on set when I used to work on commercials in Greece. Or, I don't know, I sometimes come across as very like happy-go-lucky, bubbly, so I don't know if I'm taken very seriously sometimes. So I feel like there's always this underestimation, but I kind of like that because then that kind of gives me that I'll show you mentality, and it motivates me to go and get things done and to let my work speak for itself. But you're also right that I did have some distance from the whole Cyprus situation. So yeah, I'm coming with maybe, I guess, the best of both worlds, having grown up as Cypriot but in South Africa, so which also had a very complicated situation. I grew up during apartheid in South Africa, so I have a lot of stuff to draw from. And actually that's what the next film is about. I'll just do a little segue into that, but it's influenced me very profoundly. And while I normally do rom-coms, the next movie is a period drama set in the 70s between Cyprus and South Africa. And it focuses on, back then during the war, the way that many women were able to get visas and leave the country was through arranged marriages. So they would arrive at the airport in South Africa there'd be another like Cypriot man, a complete stranger with, her photo in his hands, and they would meet him at the airport, get married, and start their lives in this completely foreign country. And I thought that was such an interesting premise.
So it is based on reality.
Based on reality, and I've written a story called Apart From Her. It's also, supported by the ministry. If all goes well, we'll be shooting it in Cyprus in October. But let's see.
Also
Fingers
in South
crossed.
Africa?
Originally, we were going to shoot in South Africa. We actually were going to do it with a company that was linked to Amazon Africa, and then Amazon pulled out of South Africa and the Middle East in January, so the deal fell apart. So now we're going to just shoot the entire thing in Cyprus, and it's
pretending it's also South Africa.
Yeah, exactly. It's a very intimate story, so it's mostly interiors. So it's doable. I hope my production designer Lydia Mandridu that's going to be her problem.
She's a wizard.
Yeah, she is. She's amazing.
Way.
So, but it's my passion project. It's based on a lot of my parents' stories. While they didn't have that kind of setup in terms of their marriage, all of the stories in the film from the war and from South Africa are completely based on real events. And I can't wait to bring it to life. We also have some really great cast, but I can't say yet. But I know. So I hope it all goes well, and that's my next passion project. But I think it's a really interesting way to look at the Cyprus problem, because most of the story takes place in South Africa. But I thought it was always interesting that these people left one divided country for another, because, again, South Africa was going through apartheid in the 70s. So it's a really good way to explore things like identity and prejudice and persecution.
That's very interesting, because I was going to say before, when we were saying about the scripts in the Cypriot films, that a lot of the Cypriot films are dealing with things that have to do with, the war and, separation and all that stuff, and what happened in 74. I mean, 50%, 40% maybe? Yeah. And a lot of people start with that. But I think it's really interesting that you went from rom-com to this. Like, you kind of waited for this.
I know.
How did this need come about that you want to make this film now, which sounds amazingly interesting?
Thanks.
And from this other angle of, refugees.
It's just, I mean, we're all complex people. Here's my thing. This is a very big thing for us. Obviously, the Cyprus problem is it's a very big part of us, but it shouldn't define us. It shouldn't be the only thing that Cyprus is about. So I guess it's trying to strike a balance. This is definitely, I hope it'll be one of my most important and beloved films, because and I have to be very careful and very responsible with it. And I think I've spoken with Greek Cypriots and Turkish Cypriots. I think it has a very balanced view. But also, Find Me Falling doesn't touch on that at all. It shows, it's a love letter to Cyprus, and it shows the beauty of the island and the people and the culture, and the music. So, because that's also who we are. We are not only this awful separation and this awful war that happened to us. We are other things as well. So I think I hope that in my work I can show a combination of that. And also it's a nice way, it's a way, again, to introduce people to Cyprus, because, again, they don't even know who we are. When I pitch the war movie, again, they don't know Cyprus. They're like, why should we care? But if Cyprus gets onto people's radar through a romantic comedy or a pleasant film like that, they start caring, they start being interested, and then they discover our history and the state that we're in still now, 50 years later. So I think there are different ways to approach things.
That sounds like a plan, but I don't know if you planned it. Did you plan it like that?
No, I'm not that much of a mastermind. But
now it sounds amazing that now we have the successful film.
Yeah.
How about this other film that talks about the same place, but from this other angle, from the
Exactly.
same director? Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
It's amazing how you did this.
Here's hoping. Yeah.
What's the word? Well, the way you
Kind of
place
the
things
progression.
progression.
It wasn't, and I started writing both of these films at the same time, and it was just a
Okay.
matter of which one came together, just in terms of timing.
Easier first.
But it's hard because I go out to markets and festivals when I'm trying to pitch the film and get it financed, and just nobody knows Cyprus. It's always hard to get them to understand, and they don't know about it. To us, it's the biggest thing in the world, and often they don't know that we were invaded. I mean, I've been chatting, to the Netflix executives now with the film, and I usually, often will come up, and they have no idea, and I mean, obviously, why would
That's
they?
in the States, right?
Yeah. I mean, we're a very small place. There are conflicts like this all over the world. So, and it's just a matter of, I guess, getting the word out there. And cinema is just one of the most effective ways to do it, I think. Yeah.
I really appreciate your work and the way you go about it and the dedication. I'm saying
Thank
this
you.
again, but the more you unravel here, it's about your plans and all that. It sounds all very interesting and very inspiring to me
Thank
as well,
you.
not just the filmmakers. But tell me about. So, are we going to see this in the cinemas? You said.
Yes, yay, yes. It's coming out in Cyprus as well on the 19th of July, all across the country.
The only country that's going to be shown on.
The only place in the
cinema.
world that you
Yeah.
can see it on the big screen. Yes, so yeah, when you make a film with the ministry, it's a requirement that it goes out to theatres, which is great. And Netflix let us keep those rights as well, so there wasn't an issue there. The only requirement was that we come out on the same day. And I hope people will go out and support it and watch it because there'll never be another chance again to see it on the big screen.
So, are you going on the first day?
I'll be there. There'll be a premiere the night before, I think. But
In the cinema.
In the cinema, yeah, we'll
Okay.
have like
So we're going to
cast
that.
and crew. That's right, cast and crew. Well, you're in the cast. You have to see yourself up there,
Yeah,
nice
yeah.
and big. No, I'll definitely be going and attending. I think it'll just be crazy in July. I don't know. I'm going to lose my mind in a good way.
And we actually, you filmed in this room, right?
That's right. We shot so Harry Connick Jr. himself and Ali Fumiko Whitney, who is one of the female leads, together with Agnes Scott. They both shot in this studio. The scene with Harry was cut. It didn't make it to the final cut, but Ali, who sings in the scene, she made it, and it looks beautiful. It kind of has a pink hue to it. And that's another thing. Harry wrote 2 songs for the film, and one of the songs is called Find Me Falling, which is where the film gets its title as well.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And tell me about the soundtrack. Who did the soundtrack?
So
Was it done later?
Yeah, we did it afterwards just because it was so crazy for me. I focused on music at the very end. But we did, because the song is about a rock star and about this young singer who works at a tavern, and she sings all these beautiful classic Greek songs. So we had songs exactly, which we recorded here.
Yeah.
So yeah, we had some really gorgeous songs like Pefti Selathi, Alamulenta Matiasu, Stalya Stalya, which Ali came into this very studio with you and with Andreas Trachonitis, and we recorded. So because we had to do those in advance, obviously before we shot. Harry performed and recorded his songs in the US. And
there was
then
more score, right?
And then the score was done by Carlos Jose Alvarez, who is this lovely Cuban-American composer who lives in Miami. He has this amazing side story I have to tell you very quickly because it's so much fun. While we were doing the score, and while he was composing for the film, he has a grandmother who's she was 95 or something at the time, who had come over from Cuba to America, had a family there, and she always wanted to become a singer, and her father would never let her. And once she got into her 90s, Carlos said to her, come on, let's record an album. Let's, give me your songs that you've written and let's do it.
She was a songwriter.
She was a songwriter and a singer. And she recorded this entire beautiful album, and it got nominated for a Latin Grammy. This was, I think, last year. And she won for Best Newcomer at 95 years old. Which was just
in the Cuban section or
in
something.
the Latin Grammys.
Latin,
she was a tie with another artist, but I mean, that was just there's inspiring for you that it's
Incredible.
never too late.
She's still alive?
95. Yes. 95 years old, and she wins for Best Newcomer at the Latin Grammys.
I want to hear that.
So it's Angela Alvarez. So yeah, that was Carlos's wonderful story. So there were lots of great little stories like this inspiring the film throughout.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, I can't wait to watch it with you on the big screen.
Yes.
And
likewise.
thank you so much for coming and talking to us.
Thank
And,
you. It
all
was
the
great to
best.
be here, and thank you for everything, all the musical contribution to the film. So
Such a pleasure.
we can't wait to share it. Thank you.
Thank you.